Authorities in Cobb County are still searching for answers in the disappearance of Marcie Tokeysha Peterson, who vanished more than 2 decades ago. New attention is now being brought to her case, as investigators and family members continue to seek the truth about her final known movements. Marcie was last seen at 11 a.m. on October 30th, 2003, near the StudioPLUS motel on Cumberland Parkway. She handed a room key to a housekeeper and was never seen again.
Well, I do remember that she was always like fun, kind of like the party type person. So she was always joking about, the stuff. Like, I never remember her being like a serious mom. She was like really always jokey, silly, very beautiful.
Marcie Peterson, born May 29, 1975, is a resilient, spirited, and lively woman from Georgia whose personality fills every room she enters. Sometimes listed by her maiden name, Crane, Marcie is known by her loved ones as someone full of energy, humor, and boldness.
She was super smart. She was young, so we were really close as far as her, my sister, and my cousin were all like 3 years apart. And Marcie was the youngest of all of our aunts. So she was like the cool aunt to hang out with. She listened to the same kind of music as us and, things of that nature because she wasn't that much older. She was the youngest of all of her siblings and the only one to go to college. She actually became a real estate agent and a broker, and she did really well, really well.
She lives life with a free, sometimes wild streak, unafraid to take risks, follow her impulses, or make unforgettable memories along the way. At the heart of everything is her family. As a devoted parent and a deeply connected sibling, she has always leaned on her loved ones just as they have leaned on her.
I just remember having a lot of fun as a kid. She's always used to make sure that she was like one of those name brand type moms. She would always have us in name brand clothes and have us in nice houses. Well, I can remember anyway. She was a really amazing, had a really nice, beautiful soul. Every person loves, wants their mom around. Even now, as an adult, you just want to have your mom.
As far as her love life before marrying, Marcie spent years in an on-again, off-again relationship with a man named Carl. Carl was well known among her family and her children, and many of her relatives grew to like him. Their bond left a lasting imprint, so much so that Marcie had his name tattooed on her chest. More recently, Marcie married a man she met online named Major. The two had only known each other for a short time before she traveled to South Carolina, where they quickly chose to elope.
I do remember we met on a internet, like a dating site. I think it was called Tag. Oh, she was gorgeous. Absolutely gorgeous. She's a beautiful woman. She just kept leaving me messages. And if you ever dealt with social media or whatever, it was just a flirt thing. I was a younger man and she was a younger woman. I think initially it might have started off lustfully. Then it gradually, I fell in love with her and she fell in love with me. This beautiful woman asked me to marry her. At first it was like, this got to be a gag or something, you know what I mean? Because it's so beautiful. She's an absolutely beautiful woman. She's beautiful in personality. We had so many things in common. You get what I'm saying? As far as I was raised by like a hippie revolutionary. So, music-wise, we had the same taste in music and everything. It was just like, she's absolutely perfect, as far as compatibility. Just like a risk taker, the type of person that's very impulsive and spontaneous. A daredevil. She asked me to marry her. Of course, I didn't take her serious, but I said yes, and it seemed like 2 days later we was on our way to to South Carolina to get married.
However, their marriage was far from traditional. The sudden wedding shocked Marcie's family, not only because they barely knew him, but also because of how quickly everything happened. Some reports suggest Marcie may have moved on so rapidly as a way to keep her mind off Carl and their breakup. Nonetheless, according to Major, their marriage wasn't traditional. Their communication came in waves, sometimes frequent, other times silent for long stretches, and Marcie often operated in her own world, moving at her own pace and on her own terms. Professionally, Marcie worked hard to build a career in real estate. After completing her training, she launched her own mortgage-related business and for a time found real success. According to Major, her hard work allowed her to provide a comfortable, sometimes even luxurious, life for herself and her children.
I was making a little money back in the day, you know. This was the first time that I got a chance to really meet the kids. It was around my birthday, and she said, "We want to take you out for dinner." So I said, "Okay, cool. We'll go out to eat." On the day that we got ready to go out to eat, we went to the Atlanta Fish Market. Well, the Atlanta Fish Market, I had never been there before. I took $300 out to go out to dinner. I'm thinking, you know, hey, we get out there, you know, I can pay the bill. You can tell the kids was used to balling because we got out there, everybody ordered Alaskan king crab, and each plate was like $50 or above, and I had $300. So, you know, I ordered me a little steak because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to handle this. So when the bill came, the bill was $500 and something. I told her, I said, look, I'll be right back. I got to go to the bathroom. I went to the bathroom and I'm counting my money, and I realized I didn't have my debit card with me. And I'm like, oh, my God. By the time I got back out to the table, she had already paid the bill. How life was. This one would have like $16,000 in cash in her pocket. She can take the kids out, they go shopping, they go in the mall and spend $16,000 in one day. You know, everybody wanted to be around Marcie because Marcie always came up.
But like many in real estate and mortgage lending, her income was unpredictable. When work slowed down, she frequently had to find alternative ways to bring in income. As the financial pressure grew, Marcie took a $30,000 loan she later regretted. She told her family the man who lent her the money had become threatening.
And my aunt was in the car with her, along with one of Marcie's best friends. I guess the guy spotted her. She said that the guy almost ran them off the road and yelled out his window, "I'm going to get you."
On top of that, she soon faced legal trouble and served a few months in jail on misdemeanor violations, which was a setback that caused her to lose the mortgage business she had worked so hard to build. However, those close to Marcie say she didn't give up. While inside, she worked on repairing relationships. She and Major hadn't spoken for months around that time. She also told family she reconnected with Carl and was maintaining a cordial line of communication. Once released, Marcie initially moved in with her sister before later transitioning to an extended stay motel in Vinings to begin planning her next steps. But those plans were cut short when she vanished in October 2003. In the days leading up to Marcie's disappearance, money had been tight. She and Major had recently sold a car to make ends meet.
I told her, I said, well, I got this car for sale. As soon as I sell it, I had classic 62 Impala. I sold the car for chump change because, you know, I wanted us to be together. We went and got us a hotel room. You know, everything was good. Of course, you know, we were just spending money, the money that we had from selling the car. So we went to the second hotel because that one was real expensive. She was telling me stuff like, you know, her and her ex was working on getting another house situation going. He still worked in the mortgage business. At that time, she didn't have a car, and I didn't have a car. So this guy's pulling up or whatever, and it's just me and her in a room. She's going to have some kind of excuse to go out to see him. So she would tell me, you know, he's coming over, and he's going to give me a little money. And like I said, I had already pretty much exhausted the little funds that we had from the car.
Marcie was still in contact with Carl, something Major acknowledged knowing about. According to him, Carl had been helping her get into a home and had even stopped by the night before she vanished.
So the night before everything, she told me that Carl was coming over. she had to sign some paperwork and that he was coming to the store, which was right across the street from the hotel. So I walked down with her. She walked across the street, and she got in the truck with some guy. I assumed at the time that was him, which the cops would later on tell me. They didn't tell me different. They just said, "Did you see him? Did you see his face?" Which I had to say no because I didn't. But anyway, so she went over there, whatever, came back like she said, and had a little money with her, and we went out to eat. And, we had a great night. The next day, I don't know what day of the week was, but I knew within the next couple of days from then, I had to pay for the room because we was paying weekly.
The morning she disappeared, Major said his focus was making sure the room was paid for. He claimed he left early with a friend to make some money, expecting to meet up with Marcie later. During this time, he also maintained a connection with another woman named Allie, someone he described as financially supportive in the same way Carl had supported Marcie.
After that night, the next morning, I told her, I said, well, I'm going to get some money. I had already called my friend Allison to come and pick me up. So she knew about Allie and everything. Allie was working in credit collections. She was established, and she gave me a little money. And I called her, and I said, I'm on my way back. I spent a little time with Allie. So when I called her and told her I'm on my way back, she was like, okay, well, I'm down here at the Kinko's. The reason why I guess she told me she was at the Kinko's is because at that hotel that we was at, you had to use a physical key to get in the room. And, of course, she had the key when I left because, in case she wanted to go out the door or whatever, you had to lock it. So I said, okay, we're talking whatever. I had about $300-some I had came up on, so I could take care of the room and everything. We can get something to eat, and we do what we're doing to keep making it through. I come back, and she dropped me off. Just so you know how the hotel is set up. It's like on one side, it's like a plaza, then a hotel, then an open space inside of the hotel towards if you're standing in front of the hotel, to the right is another little plaza with a Kinko's in it. So when she said she was at the Kinko's, like I said, when I got out the car, I was talking to her on the phone. I said, okay, well, I'm about to come over to the Kinko's. And she said, okay, we hung up the phone. I walk over to the Kinko's. She ain't at the Kinko's. I'm calling the phone. Where you at? Because I'm thinking maybe she in the bathroom at the Kinko's. So I'm looking crazy in the Kinko's, and I'm walking around and everything looking for her, and she's not there. So I'm calling the phone. She wouldn't pick up. So I went to the front desk at the Kinko's, and I'm asking the people, have you seen this lady or whatever? And it was like, no, nobody been in here. She haven't been in here.
This is the actual location. FedEx bought Kinko's in 2004 and renamed it FedEx Office in 2008. Major said he waited for Marcie throughout the day, but she never showed up and his calls went unanswered. When he returned to their room, he found her belongings gone. At first, no one panicked. Marcie was known to take space when she needed it, but when hours turned into days and she didn't return to her children, her family grew deeply concerned.
Then I just didn't hear from her, which wasn't really strange. But then Carl showed up. He mentioned that he hadn't heard from her, and he was saying that I think she went back with Major. I think she's getting back with Major. Keep in touch. I'll always be here for you. Gave me, I think, like a couple $100 or something. He would always do that, just give out money to me and the kids.
Investigators reviewed Marcie's phone records and interviewed the friend who last spoke with her, who confirmed Marcie never mentioned leaving town. Police opened an investigation, but progress stalled early. Some family members believe that reporting her under her married name, Peterson, rather than her maiden name, Crane, may have slowed the initial search. Detectives then began looking into the men in her life, and that's when the story became more complex. Both men had secrets, and Carl had never shared his real name with Marcie or her family.
Major said that she last left with Carl, but Carl told me that he hadn't heard from her and thought that she was going back with Major. So we never really got any answers. I know with the detective that was on the case, he told us that there were some things that he uncovered about both Major and Carl about their background.
According to Major, detectives initially viewed him as a suspect. He was the last known person to see her, and they had barely known each other. Still, Major cooperated fully.
I think maybe a couple of days later is when I get a call from the detective. And that's when it got real. So the cop is on me now. And it's like, what the hell? You know what I mean? And they told me straight up, your wife is missing. The questions that they asked me was like, as if they would assuming that I did something to hurt her. So finally, and I would ask them, are you looking at me as some suspect or something like that? Because I would never put my hand on her. I never raised my hand to her. And she ain't the type of person that you can raise your hand to. She's very athletic and she ain't with that. Finally, one of the officers said to me, he was like, yeah, they think you killed her. And that hurt so bad. And it hit me in my stomach so hard. But at the same time, it scared the shit out of me. I would never do nothing to hurt her in no kind of way. Anyway, them telling me that they think that I might have killed her, that's when it got real for me. So, and from that point on, it's like, Marcie picked up this phone, but she ain't picking up the phone. And then they put me through it, man. They did everything, I guess, until they got their answers. I did whatever it could take to get myself exonerated. I gave them all the evidence they needed. The only thing that really saved me, I assume, because they never told me, is the video from the hotel and the key, that physical key. The hotels that they have today, you got to use a little swipe key or something. But back, that physical key, and there wasn't no two keys, there's only one key. And so by them, I guess, I'm assuming, interviewing the maid and then the physical key, that whole scenario, and seeing video or whatever, they knew I ain't did nothing to her. And they probably saw her when she did whatever. You know what I'm saying? They never shared this information with me.
Once detectives shifted their attention away from Major, they turned their focus to Carl, but by then he had vanished as well and could not be located. Detectives determined that her last known movements were traced to the 2400 block of Cumberland Parkway near Paces Ferry Road and Interstate 285. According to Marcie's niece, the family spent years searching for answers. A few years ago, they found one of Carl's daughters online, but nothing came out of that situation. They learned that Carl had returned to New York, where he was originally from. Everyone else they contacted who was connected to her did not respond to their questions or messages. Other figures tied to Marcie, such as the man who loaned her the $30,000 and threatened her, also came under scrutiny, but still, no evidence linked any of them directly to her disappearance.
The other theory, I assume, is Marcie borrowed some money from somebody, which she told me that the guy was saying little threatening things, but she wasn't sweating it because I guess she had dealt with him before on he was helping her to set up a business. He gave her a loan and she was supposed to give it back to him, and she didn't give it back to him on time.
Despite immediate concern and a police investigation, Marcie has never been found. Over the years, rumors have surfaced, including claims she may have left for New York, but none have ever been supported by credible evidence. More than 2 decades later, the disappearance of Marcie remains one of Georgia's lingering mysteries, an open wound for her family, and a cold case still searching for answers. If you have any information about the disappearance of Marcie, please contact the Cobb County Police Department or your local authorities. This is a case that I have held on to for a very long time. A few years ago, I actually reached out to some of her family members and I was able to speak to her nephew, and I just really hope this family gets some answers. This is a very complex case, but it's also a case that is very helpful to us about secrets and the unknown. In today's world, we have the technology to really find out who people really are. Make sure you use the tools that are available, because these women 20, 25, 30 years ago, they did not have that. I'm not sure what direction the authorities are going in at this moment. When I did reach out, there was very little information on this case, so I had to do a lot of searching. There's a few podcasts that have interviewed the family. I'll make sure I add the links to those down below so you can hear those. I was only able to find like one news story on this case. Majority of the articles are by people in content creation, blogging, and things of that sort, which is absolutely ridiculous. I hope more eyes get on this case, and I just hope her kids get some answer. You all, let me know your thoughts and your opinions down below. Let's please respect the victim and the family in the comments. I thank you all so much for watching. I love you all dearly, and with that being said, please don't forget to check on your loved ones.